Hey, hey, Disney fans, planners, and reluctant visitors. I'm Becky, and this is Touring Plans Teaches. This week, we're continuing our series on touring strategies for Walt Disney World, and we've got episode 302. In this episode, we're going to give you an example strategy of touring Hollywood Studios while stacking Genie Plus reservations. Hollywood Studios is one of the most complicated parks to tour because there are so many attractions that have high wait times. And Genie Plus is another confusing thing to keep track of at Disney. And so by combining the two, we're going to go over one of the most complicated days that you might have while you're in the parks. So you have an example day to give you an idea for how your time at Hollywood Studios might go. So why are we jumping immediately to a Hollywood Studios day with Genie stacking? One of our most popular YouTube episodes so far has been our episode about Genie Plus stacking, because there's a lot of rules you have to pay attention to be able to get the most use out of it. So I wanted to make sure that we had a pretty early touring strategy about using Genie stacking and how that integrates with a pretty regular touring strategy, especially at Hollywood Studios. In order to make an effective touring strategy with Genie Plus, we're going to need some additional data compared to our normal touring strategies. And all of that data is represented on this screen. So in order to maximize our use of Genie Plus for the day, we want to know two things. We want to know which reservations sell out quicker rather than later, so we can make those earlier in the day. And we want to know how much time they're going to save us. So the table on top here shows us when we can expect those Genie Plus reservations to sell out, as well as when we can expect our return times to be. And the chart on the bottom shows those average time savings. So we want to prioritize ones that are higher up on the list so we save more time with each reservation. So we're going to be layering this in with the rest of our touring strategy so that we can use Genie Plus where it's going to save us the most time, and we can wait in standby where we won't be able to use Genie Plus. So let's jump in and figure out what our sample day at Hollywood Studios is going to look like. First, we're going to cover those Genie Plus reservations that we're going to make. And so we could layer this in with all the stops that we're making during our attractions, but I found that that makes things a little more confusing. So we're going to talk Genie Plus first, and then we'll talk about what that looks like for which attractions we visit at what point in the day at Hollywood Studios. So for Genie Plus at Hollywood Studios, you're definitely going to want to wake up right at 7 a.m. to make that first reservation for Slinky Dog Dash. Slinky often sells out within the first couple of minutes that's available during the day, so if you're not up at 7 a.m., you might miss it. So in our example day, we're going to say we get up at 7 a.m. and we get a 5 p.m. return time. This is a pretty likely scenario. You could get lucky and get earlier. We're going to say that we get something like 5 o'clock. Obviously, what you get might impact what your touring strategy looks like. Then we're not eligible to make another reservation until 2 hours after the park opens. Again, on our sample day, the park's going to open at 9 a.m. So that means at 11 a.m. I'm eligible to make another Genie Plus reservation. So I look through what's available, what I can do during standby, and I figure out that what's going to save me the most time and work with my schedule is to book Millennium Falcon, which by 11 a.m. already has return times at 6:45 p.m. Things are booking really far in advance at Hollywood Studios. Then 2 hours after I make that one, I'm eligible to make another reservation. So then when I look, a lot of the headliners are already sold out for the day, but Toy Story Mania is still available and has a 6 p.m. return time. So I booked that one as well. 2 hours later, at 3 p.m., my choices are getting very slim, but Alien Swirling Saucers is available. I know I'm already going to be in Toy Story Land since I have reservations for Slinky and Toy Story Mania, so I book Alien Swirling Saucers, and it has a return time of 6:30 p.m. By the time another 2 hours has passed at 5 p.m., likely everything at Hollywood Studios will be sold out for the day, so I'm not going to be able to make or use any more reservations. But I've stacked up 4 at this point that then I can redeem in the evening to avoid a lot of the standby waits. Now we know what we're doing with Genie Plus, and so we're going to book those throughout the day, and then we'll use them all in the evening. That's the whole point of stacking. Now we want to see what we're going to do with the rest of our day, the morning and the afternoon, and how we take advantage of the different wait time patterns to try to avoid the longest waits that we can. We're going to be bouncing around the map of Hollywood Studios as we do that. So of course, I'm going to pass things off to Brian so he can walk us through this day.
I'm good.
Well, one of these weeks we're going to make that happen. But for now, I'll take us through our day at the Hollywood Studios. We're going to pretend that this is a medium crowd level day, so it's not going to be the week of Thanksgiving or December where things are totally crazy, and it's not going to be the week of Labor Day where we can just walk on to anything that we want to. So we're going middle of the road here. There will be some significant waits that we want to avoid. First thing that we want to do is, if we have early entry at Hollywood Studios, we use that to go on Rise of the Resistance. And if you looked at our early entry strategy videos, you know early entry at Hollywood Studios starts especially early when you compare it to the other parks. So we want to get to Hollywood Studios at least 45 minutes before a regular park opening, ideally an hour to an hour and 15 minutes before, because that park's going to open really early. We can take advantage of that and go right to Rise of the Resistance, and typically you can ride Rise of the Resistance before early entry even starts. So in our case, if the park opens at 9 a.m., early entry would begin at 8:30. Usually those gates will open around 8, and we could be at Rise of the Resistance around 8:10 and ride it before early entry starts at 8:30. This is a great start to your day. Now this is an ideal world. Rise of the Resistance tends to go down pretty regularly. If I could knock on all the wood, I would do that now, because Rise of the Resistance has been pretty reliable first thing in the morning. There's a couple days that it's been down recently. So this is a good first step, but you need to have a backup plan if Rise doesn't come available during early entry. But let's say on our ideal day, we rode Rise of the Resistance, and now it's about 8:30, so I still have 30 minutes before the park opens. I could do a number of things with this time, and so there's a little bit of choose your own adventure here. I'm using this to prove that, especially if you go on a medium crowd level day and you've got Genie Plus at your disposal and you're going to stay in the park all day, you're going to have some flexibility with your schedule, which a lot of people don't realize. They think they have to go, go, go all day. But with the rest of early entry, I could do a few things. One of my favorites would be to explore an empty Batuu. So this is Star Wars Galaxy Edge, and during early entry, everyone's rushing to attractions, which means you have an opportunity to take pictures with the Millennium Falcon in the background and no people, or to explore some of those hidden corners, enjoy the placemaking that the Imagineers have worked so hard on. So you could spend a little bit of time during early entry doing this because you have time in your day, so you're still going to be able to avoid bad waits, even if you take your time and explore a little. If that's not your style, and you want to ride Slinky twice during the day, you could hop immediately from Rise to Slinky, because Slinky's still going to have a low wait. Early entry technically just started. So I already have a Genie Plus reservation for Slinky in the evening. If I want to ride it twice, now's a great time to do that. Alternatively, and what I'm going to pretend that we do for this day, is I could go from Rise of the Resistance to Runaway Railway. That takes me back to sort of the front of the park. It's another attraction that tends to get pretty lengthy waits. I didn't make a Genie Plus reservation for it based on my plan for the day, so this is a good thing to knock out early. So I'm going to pretend on our example day that this is what we're doing. I do Rise of the Resistance, and then I get to Runaway Railway. After I've checked those two headliners off my list, I'm going to try to cut back on a little bit of walking and go down Sunset Boulevard. And so at this point, let's say it's right around regular park opening. A lot of guests at regular rope drop are still going to the Slinky and the Rise and Runaway Railway, those big, big headliners, and they're not headed down Sunset Boulevard yet. So this is a great time to head to Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster and avoid the big standby waits there and not use Genie Plus reservations for them. That frees up some more reservations for things like Millennium Falcon later in the evening. So if you get to these around regular park opening, you're not going to have standby waits because everyone else is visiting other areas of the park. This is a great zig when they zag moment, which is exactly what you want to do to avoid crowds. Do Tower of Terror first because it tends to have the higher standby waits, and then Rock and Roller Coaster immediately afterwards. By the time you complete both of those, we're sort of in the early to mid-morning time range when crowds at Hollywood studios are already at their highest of the day. So Hollywood studios peaks pretty early and stay there for a while, and then it decreases in the evening. So now we want to get a little more careful about what we're choosing to do. Now is not the time to keep hitting headliners. After all, we've already done 4 of them, so that's pretty good. In our example day, now we're going to go meet some characters. This is important especially for a lot of families to accomplish during a park day, and these will tend to get higher weights in the afternoon, so it's good to do them in sort of this late morning time frame. Of all the character meet and greets at Hollywood studios, Darth Vader has the highest satisfaction ratings. He's really good at what he does, a little bit creepy, fun to interact with, so you should make that your #1 priority. After that, if you want to meet another character, you could meet Chewbacca, or Minnie in the Red Carpet Dreams, or even Olaf. Again, a little bit of a choose-your-own-adventure here, but it's good to get all of your character meet and greets out of the way here in the late morning and not save them for the afternoon when they tend to get a little more crowded. So we'll do that. We'll meet our characters. We've still got a little bit of our morning left, shockingly, because we've already done a lot. And so now at this time is where we go and hit that lowest level of attractions. Star Tours and Muppet Vision really aren't going to attract much weights other than on the very most crowded days. So doing these in some order right before lunch is a good way to get a few more attractions under your belt before you pause for that big meal in the middle of the day. Now we're going to cover our afternoon at Hollywood studios. This is the time of the day where we want to avoid anything with a line. We will do anything at Hollywood studios that doesn't have a line. So that rules out attractions, that rules out character meet and greets. We want to find some other way to spend our afternoon so we don't have to deal with the crowds and the heat. That means we have a lot of things still to choose from at Hollywood studios. We could do any of the shows there. So Indiana Jones, Beauty and the Beast, the Frozen sing-along, all really good options for the afternoon. You can break all those shows up by doing some other things. You can go explore Walt Disney Presents. That's where you just walk through and look at some cool memorabilia, learn about some history. If you have a Magic Band Plus, which is the upgrade from the regular Magic Bands, you can go back to Galaxy's Edge and do the Bounty Hunter game. If you run through the whole entire Bounty Hunter game, it can take something like 3 to 4 hours. You check in using your Magic Band Plus, you're given a bounty to go find, then you use lights and vibrations in your Magic Band Plus to know if you're getting close to them. It's like a game of hot versus cold, and then once you find it, you go back and you check it in and you get credits. In order to complete the whole game, you have to do something like 20 rounds of this, so that takes up a lot of time, but if you're looking for something to fill your afternoon and explore a little bit, that's a great time to do the Bounty Hunter game. Other things you could do in your afternoon that aren't even on this slide, some things that don't have as high of satisfaction, but are a big hit with the little kid crowd. You can do the Disney Junior Play and Dance during the afternoon. You could do Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy. Or if you have a big Star Wars fan in your life, booking a reservation at Droid Depot or Savi's Workshop to build a lightsaber also fit really well in the afternoon because you can avoid the lines and just do these experiences instead. So spend your entire afternoon until you're ready to start using those Genie Plus reservations that you made, doing these things that help you avoid the lines and avoid the crowds. In the evening is when we start using all of those Genie Plus reservations that we talked about at the beginning of the video, and we start avoiding all the waits and doing all of those cool attractions that we've waited for all during the day. So we're going to start by redeeming our Slinky Dog Dash reservation, and that one had a 5 p.m. return time. So we can use it anytime between 5 and 6 p.m., yay. After that, you're probably going to take a little bit of a break for dinner because our Toy Story Mania reservation wasn't until 6 p.m., but we'll redeem that one next. And then finally, we have our Alien Swirling Saucers and our Millennium Falcon reservations. Part of the reason I suggested making all of those is that they're all in a pretty compact area within the park. You're not running around from Tower of Terror to Millennium Falcon to Slinky trying to redeem all of your reservations. This way you get to stay in one general area. At the end of the night, if you weren't able to do Rise of the Resistance during early entry, either it was down or you're not eligible, this is when you should get in line for Rise of the Resistance. Because its wait times go a lot lower in the evening, you'll still have a pretty significant wait, but it won't be unmanageable. This also sets you up to enjoy your evening in Batu, which looks really cool at the night and has its own energy. You can make an Oga's Cantina reservation for the evening in Galaxy's Edge, or you can set yourself up to watch the nighttime entertainment at Hollywood Studios. Fantasmic hasn't reopened yet, so that's not something you have to worry about waiting for, but it's sort of a big miss in the nighttime at Hollywood Studios. There are a few projection shows most nights right on the Chinese Theater, which serves as Runaway Railway right now. So you could watch those in the nighttime. You don't really need to grab a spot for those very far in advance, so I suggest exploring Batu until about 15 minutes before those start, heading to the main street of Hollywood Studios, watching those, and then your night at Hollywood Studios is pretty much wrapped. That was a really busy day at Hollywood Studios, so you're going to need the appropriate fuel to keep going through that whole day and do all of those attractions. Let's talk about some dining options in Hollywood Studios and suggestions to go along with this example day. If you want to do a table service meal at Hollywood Studios, you should definitely schedule that for lunch and not dinner. That's because lunch will help you avoid those crowds. You can take your time, enjoy some indoor dining, and you can relax a little bit while also avoiding the long waits. If you do it at dinner instead, you're going to be stuck eating a longer meal at a time when the lines are shorter, and you'll want to be taking advantage of those instead. So try to aim your table service for lunchtime at Hollywood Studios. A couple of suggestions there. None of the table service restaurants at Hollywood Studios are particularly highly rated, so it's good to make your decisions based on theme or specific menus that appeal to you. Two that really stand out for theme are the 50s Primetime Cafe and the Sci-Fi Dine-In Theater. So at 50s Primetime Cafe, you're dining in a kitchen from the 1950s. Your servers are going to act like they're your mom or your aunt and make you eat all your vegetables. And they have really fun milkshakes as well as other classic comfort food from the 50s. And at Sci-Fi Dine-In, you're going to be sitting in a convertible where you're going to eat your food and order from waitresses that walk up and pretend they're on roller skates, and you're going to watch some old trailers for really campy sci-fi films as you do that. It's dark, it's cool, really good theming. Not as great for food. If you want good food, you could try Hollywood Brown Derby. It's gotten more hit or miss, though, recently, so don't depend on this to be a super excellent meal. But as far as food quality, it is sort of the top option for table service restaurants at Hollywood Studios. On the other side of that coin is quick service dining at Hollywood Studios. So this is what you're going to want to do for dinner, or I would argue that you could do it for both of your meals, unless having that long, relaxing meal is incredibly important to you. That's because quick service dining at Hollywood Studios is really highly rated. You have a lot of highly rated options, and they're all sort of on the uptrend. A lot of quick service dining is getting a lot better at Hollywood Studios. The highest satisfaction locations are Ronto Roasters and Docking Bay 7. These are both in Galaxy's Edge. There are a lot of options for you to choose from, and they're fun, and they have good theming. During that dinner time, you're probably going to be in Toy Story Land, redeeming those reservations for things like Slinky and Toy Story Mania. If that's the case, you could eat at Woody's Lunchbox, which is open for dinner as well. I would suggest placing your mobile order pretty early in the day because this is a popular location. You can get things like tachos there, and it's a fun place to eat while you're touring Toy Story Land. Even on a medium crowd level day, we're able to accomplish a lot, especially with the help of Genie Plus, and most of those aren't going to have significant standby waits at all. That should be a pretty pleasant day. It does require quite a bit of strategy going into it and making sure you're on top of your Genie Plus reservation timing. Set that alarm for every 2 hours to help you keep track of it. If you have any questions or comments about this strategy or how you approach a day at Hollywood Studios, drop them in the comments below or send me an email at beckyg@touringplans.com. Next week, we'll be back with another strategy for another day at Disney World.